There is a match engine mod for Football Manager 2024 gaining traction online. I first stumbled across it on the Football Manager subreddit. Reading some of the comments about this made it seem promising. But some had things to say that had me question how good or bad it could possibly be. So, I thought I would put it to the test. Now, my idea here is not to test or judge the visual aspect of the match engine. Feel free to come to your own conclusions about that. My aim in doing this is to investigate two questions I saw with regards to this new modded match engine that interested me. 1. Does this modded match engine increase scoring drastically? 2. Does this modded match engine work with instant result? To do this, I collected data on 60 total reruns of the same match, 15 in each condition. I am using my personal Taunton Town save in a match against Manchester City in 2046. These conditions are the following: original match engine watching the match, original match engine using instant result, modded match engine watching the match, modded match engine using instant result. I delegated pre-game speeches and in-game shouts to the assistant, and used the assistant recommended substitutions in the matches. I want to preface the whole analysis section by saying I have taken statistic courses in university, but I rarely use statistics, so I am quite rusty overall in my dataset construction and analysis. Please feel free to take the files and perform your own analysis if you have better ways of doing it. All of the datasets I have used will be available in the description. This is the tactic I use in my save typically. And this is the formation that Manchester City was using. For the matches I watched in-game, I used commentary-only mode, not 2D. I will be doing comparisons of each respective match engine watching the match and using instant result. I will then compare each engine with the other in their respective form of watching the match or using instant result. I chose to analyze only 15 matches in each condition as I wanted to be able to do this all in an afternoon. Ideally, 30 matches would be done at the least for each condition. In each match I recorded the following data: amount of goals scored by each team, amount of shots taken by each team, where on the field a goal was scored from, in what circumstance the goal was scored, such as from a direct free kick, an own goal, or a normal goal. And finally, what position of player scored a goal separated into forwards, midfielders, defenders, and goalkeepers. Spoiler: no goalies scored. Ideally, I would have included possession percentage as well, but I didn't even think of it until I was about an hour into the process. Goals from set pieces such as corners were not included, as it would have taken me additional time to identify, as well as penalties and goals by headers. I believe there is value in looking at those, but I just did not want to take the time. Now, on to the numbers. We're going to start first by going over some of the basic statistics of the different datasets. For reference, in the images, 1 refers to my team, Taunton Town, and 2 refers to Manchester City. Feel free to look at other statistics values that I do not directly mention in the video but are present on the screen. I also suggest downloading the datasets and perusing the frequency tables if you are interested. I won't cover them in this video. Starting with the original match engine, watching the game we see an average of 2.6 goals scored per game by Taunton Town and 1.6 goals scored per game by Manchester City. We also see an average of 18 shots per game by Taunton Town and 11 shots per game by Manchester City. Most goals by both teams are scored in the penalty area. Not one single goal was scored from a direct free kick in this condition, though own goals were scored on occasion. For clarity, own goals are attributed to the team that was credited with a goal. An own goal on the Taunton Town data means that Manchester City scored on themselves. For Taunton Town, most goals were scored by the forwards, while Manchester City saw most of their goals scored by midfielders. Moving on to the original match engine with instant result, we see an average of 3.2 goals scored per game by Taunton Town and 1.9 goals per game scored by Manchester City. We see similar shot amounts to the previous data set here per team. In this data set we finally see a free kick goal being scored. To compare the two original match engine conditions, I will use ANOVA to see differences for goals to answer my first question of this video. This is to establish a baseline idea for the modified match engine. Looking at P, the significance value, we see that between conditions there is no significant difference, suggesting that there is no significant difference between the number of goals scored watching the game and using instant result in the original match engine. We can use an independent t-test to look at the difference between the conditions overall, though not the differences between each team across each condition. It will combine the condition. Looking at this t-test, we see no significant difference in any of the statistics between watching the game and using instant result overall. Now we will move on to the modified match engine. Watching the game, we see Taunton Town scoring an average of 3.5 goals per game, and Manchester City scoring an average of 1.5 goals per game. At a glance, this may seem different, but we will use statistics later to check this. We see a similar trend with which players score goals for each team, Taunton Town favoring forwards for scoring with Manchester City favoring midfielders. Looking at the basic statistics of the modified match engine with instant result, we see Taunton Town scoring an average of 3.6 goals per game, and Manchester City scoring an average of 1.5 goals per game. Very similar numbers to watching the game. It is unnecessary to run an ANOVA to see the differences in goals scored between watching the game and using instant result for the modified match engine. However, we will still look at the t-test. Looking at the independent t-test, we see no significant differences overall between the conditions, as we assumed. This second comparison seems to suggest that our second question can be answered by saying that instant result is affected by the modified match engine file. To try and answer our first question, we will now compare watching the game between the original match engine and the modified match engine. By using an ANOVA, we can see that there is no significant difference between the number of goals scored on average in the original match engine when compared to the modified match engine. The significant value seen beside team just means that there is a significant difference between the goals scored by Taunton Town and Manchester City, which is expected as I often won the matches. What we are looking at is the cases of match condition and match condition by team. These results suggest that there is no significant increase or decrease in scoring from using the modified match engine. Finally, we will run the same comparison but for instant result. We see here again no significant difference between the number of goals scored in the original match engine compared to the modified match engine in instant result. What does all this mean? Well, the results are not 100% conclusive. My sample size is lower than I would have ideally wanted to have, and my statistical skills are quite rusty, so there are likely better comparisons to be made. Additionally, there are more data points I would have liked to capture just out of interest. If I was to do this again, I would like to collect the following data points: fouls, yellow and red cards, penalties, pass attempts, pass completion, shot attempt locations, shots blocked, interceptions, headers, set piece amount, scoring chances, shots on target/missed, disallowed goals, possession, and potentially looking further into how player stats and tactics play a role. With that said, I do think that a basic comparison of goal and shot amounts between the two match engines is sufficient to answer the two questions I posed near the beginning of the video. Does this modded match engine increase scoring drastically? Does this modded match engine work with instant result? The results suggest that the modified engine does not increase scoring in any significant manner, and that the modified match engine does seem to have consistent results between instant result and watching the game yourself. There are other interesting statistical points from the data I collected. Feel free to peruse them, or your own, or make any of your own analyses with the data sets I have provided in the description. Thanks for watching.